Welcome to the Daily Commercial Forum. I'm your host, Sandy Moore. Knowing how to stay safe behind the wheel is important for all drivers, old and young. There are more older drivers on the road than ever before, and it can be a difficult decision to know when it is time to turn in the keys. Today, we are going to talk about how to stay safe on our roads. Our guests are Master Deputy Jeff DeSantis from the Lake County Sheriff's Department, Carmen Polmalis, Motor Club Manager with AAA's Auto Club Group, Kinsey Lalithan, the Marketing Development Specialist with Florida Safety Council, and Bob Blubaugh, the District Coordinator of Lake County of the AARP Driver Safety Program. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you.
Well, let's start out about talking about some of the hazards or some of the traffic challenges that really everybody faces right now. So what are some of the biggest challenges? Jeff, tell us.
With all the road construction going on in the county, is everybody slowing down so everybody can get through it safely? It's one of the biggest challenges I see throughout Lake County traveling from the north end to the south end. It's one of the biggest things I see.
Now, I remember, now it's been a little while, but in driver safety classes, or driver's ed, talking about what is the most hazardous conditions. And them saying that most accidents, when do most accidents take place? Is it when it's raining or is it when it's a nice day?
I've also heard they say it's when it hasn't rained in a while, then it starts to rain, releasing a lot of the oil and stuff that's dripped on the roadway. So the roads are slicker and people don't think that they have to take longer to slow down.
Right.
And I mentioned that earlier was everybody should do the speed limit or less than the speed limit when it is raining, because it's going to take them longer to stop when they think they can stop when it's dry, shorter distance. So if everybody would slow down, because I'll do the speed limit in my marked patrol car when it's raining, and people will start trying to pass me, and I'll turn on my lights like, whoa, 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 easy. It's raining, let's all slow down so nobody gets killed on the way to where they're going.
Right. I always wonder if, because it's raining, if people do respect it a little bit more, and so there's maybe not as much accidents than when you feel like it's the perfect conditions and everybody's just going in all different directions. What are there other things that kind of everybody is dealing with as far as the traffic condition? I know you mentioned construction. Is it so much that we get in accidents, or is it safety for the people that are working the construction sites, or what is it?
I think a combination of both, and it's with if everybody would get behind the wheel of a car and pay attention to what they're doing as far as watching the road, knowing what the speed limit is on the road that they're on at the time, not paying attention to everything else in the car, family, electronic devices. I know they're trying to make it where it's more convenient, but you still see people doing their GPSs, going down the road. The other day I seen a kid turn a left turn with his phone in front of him, still trying to do his phone at the same time turning. There's too much stuff distracting people from, if they got in their vehicle, paid attention to what they were doing, we would all get where we're going safer more often.
A lot better,
yes.
For sure. Now, Kinsey, will you tell us a little bit, what exactly is the Florida Safety Council?
The Florida Safety Council has been around since 1953. We're also known as the United Safety Council nationally. But here in Florida, we're the Florida Safety Council. We're a nonprofit, actually non-governmental safety training organization. Our main cornerstone is in traffic safety, although we provide training courses in all areas of safety, workplace safety, CPR, a lot of health and environmental kind of safety. But we really do focus here in Florida on all of the traffic safety stuff.
And you have different classes and things like that you offer, or?
Yeah, we always, tell everyone that we're a resource to the community when it comes to safety. Whether you have a question or you want to know the laws or you need help with licensing and you have questions about that. But what we do day to day is training. So we train new drivers, new teens, or just anyone trying to learn how to drive and get their license. We train them through behind the wheel lessons and classroom lessons. We also provide a lot of additional training to people that have gotten into trouble with whether traffic citations or have accumulated too many points on their license. We help with that to keep the points off the license. And we also do mature driver courses, which offers a refresher course for 50, 55 age and up, and it also offers a discount on insurance.
if they take the course.
if they take the course.
So that's a motivational factor, I would guess.
So we meet all different age ranges, and we have training for all different types of driving scenarios. We even have a street racing aggressive driving course, which is very unique, and it's a unique problem. And we address those offenders in that course. So we have a lot of different stuff, the Safety Council.
Now, AAA,
Yes.
they work with, do you work with in conjunction with some of these classes? Or tell us a little bit
Absolutely.
about AAA when it has to do with driver
Well,
safety.
we are very, very involved in traffic safety with teen drivers, seniors. We actually have put together a traffic safety foundation, which returns a lot of. It's a nonprofit 501c, and a lot of money that is donated by the general public. It goes back into the communities to make our roadways a lot safer. And we have a lot of programs that we are very involved in, online as well as in our local branches. For instance, we have a driver's improvement performance program that is done monthly, on a monthly basis at our branch in the villages. And all you would have to do to register is just go on AAA.com/villages. And it is $15 per person, and it's a 4-hour class. And it goes through, gives them a review on driving, safety driving, and the car fit portion, which is making people more comfortable in their cars, letting them know that, to make sure that the lights are all taken care of, and the side rear view mirrors, and that type of thing. But we're very, very much involved in that.
Now, we're mentioning teenagers, and tell me, what do you think? Maybe Jeff, you could start with this, and then everybody chime in. What do you think when it comes to teenagers is the most challenging? I know you mentioned watching a kid with his phone, but what is it that's the most hazardous right now out there?
I just think with all the electronic devices is distracting them, because they're just becoming drivers, so it's cool and fun for them. And then I ran into it where they'll try to get as many people as they can in a car, regardless of the amount of seat belts in it. And so I think just like they're all saying here is we just keep educating them, get them to just do the speed limit, and you get to grow old like us. And that's the object. I tell them that on traffic stops. I just want you to get to be old and ugly like me. I don't want you to die young. So
Right.
just do the speed limit, wear your seatbelt, and don't pay no attention. They're texting and driving and trying to listen to the radio too loud. So that's why I just want to get them educated, and so they get to live longer than dying as a teenager in a car crash because they thought it was fun to go really fast.
Well, and I know that there's so many more distractions for teenagers nowadays than there was when I was there. I remember my parents telling me to turn the radio off. Well, if that's your only issue now, then you're doing pretty good.
Right.
But with the texting, how do parents out there relay that? Is there anything that they can do to really help, instill that in their teenagers, to put down your cell phones, to not text and drive and things like that?
I think the real example would be the parents not to do it either.
Right, exactly.
I think because these teenagers are going to copy what they see. And if it's okay for dad to do this or mom to do this, I can too, even though they're not as experienced of a driver as the parents
And
might
they
be.
probably shouldn't be doing it either.
Exactly.
That's exactly right,
Regardless,
yeah.
but
But I think that's what they do. They copy what they see, and that's the way they do it.
I would like to also share that, as Bob mentioned, that parent involvement is huge, because we can give all the advice in the world, because that's what we're here for. AAA is giving you a lot of advice and giving you a lot of tools to help and guide drivers, whether they be new teen drivers or mature drivers. And we do also print some brochures, and you can actually get these online or go to your local branch, and we're located in Leesburg, and it gives some really good information about becoming the new driver in your family. It's actually a teen guide, and they also have a parent guide that we share. That's very, very good for all of us to help.
I think something that would I think helps teens with this behavior is hearing real life stories of teens that have gotten in accidents, had close calls, or unfortunately those who have lost loved ones. Nothing really hits home unless it's a real example. I mean, we all here, everyone here does our best in our own ways to educate, but at the end of the day, you know, it's got to hit home.
Right.
So, the harsh reality is that teens without the texting, without all of these things, they're already 3 times more likely to be involved in a fatal accident, just because they're a teen and just because they're a new driver and just because of their age. It's proven that in your teen years, your abilities to recognize hazards or react to your environment isn't as advanced as older people. I mean, it's kind of common sense, but I think as a teen, you don't realize that. There's also
No, you're invincible.
yeah, teens are overconfident in their abilities. I mean, they passed that test. They got their license. So they can drive and they know what they're doing, and they're more likely to disobey traffic laws because they're an exception, not because they want to disobey a law, not because they may not even be, you know, they might be a real great student and a good student, but oh, I can make this U-turn, I got to keep up with my friends, or, you know, we can hang out the car, or we can cram people in the car. It's just that fun-loving
Well,
attitude.
and what you think, when
and-
you're a teen, what you think is important is skewed. It doesn't matter. I mean, I remember.
Yeah,
Oh, of
we all remember. So,
Yeah.
you know, so 3 times more likely already. And then you add lots of things. You add a passenger. For every passenger you add, your risk of getting in an accident, a fatal accident, goes up. Then you add turning on the radio, another distraction. Then you add cell phones, you add conversations in the car. Then maybe you're following your friends to a football game and you're not looking at the road, you're looking at the other vehicles. All of those things make that risk go up. So what I would say to adults and teens is just,
Wait till you're 35.
I would
I'm like panicking now because my child, I'm thinking, oh gosh, I've got 4 years. Wait. Okay, go ahead.
I would just say, you know, keep those risks down.
Yes.
So if you have to have the radio on, fine, but don't pack your car full of kids.
Well, and
Maybe-
parents can make rules
Yeah,
about that too. I mean,
exactly.
knowing those kind of things, and I think that that's a lot of it is just that knowledge. And I think you're right with the real stories. I know, you know, watching some of the commercials where they have, this was the text that I was receiving, or this is
Oh,
what
it's
my
amazing,
sister, you know, and
yes.
it would talk about someone dying or the kid
Exactly.
that's been. To me, I was like, oh my gosh, I've done, you know, I've looked at my phone and I'm, you know, it's making a difference to me in looking at that. So I agree.
Right,
Now,
exactly.
so do you all have at the Florida Safety Council, do you have courses for teenagers too?
Yes. We have, of course, the driver's ed, which is behind the wheel. We call it 30+6 program. It's 36 hours of traffic driver training. It's equivalent to what used to be offered to all the kids in high school, but obviously with budget cuts, a lot of schools don't offer that. They may offer just the classroom portion, or it might be very limited. We offer the full-on class, so they see all the videos, the horror stories. They
death
learn
on the
about
highway.
they learn about the traffic laws, behavior behind the wheel, operational stuff about the vehicle itself. How to react and how to maneuver the car in hazardous conditions. They also get behind the wheel drive time and observation time in a vehicle. We provide the vehicle, state certified instructors. We have the dual brake system in the car, so that always eases the students a little. They know, okay, the instructor can brake the car. Now when you're in your parents' car, they're just grabbing the wheel, and it creates an even more stressful situation
Right.
and maybe even more risky. So sometimes it's better to send your student to a third party, and the stress level goes down, the comfort's there, and they can actually focus on driving the vehicle. So that's our main, I guess, teen program. Of course, we offer the, they call it data class or TELSE. It's the class that's required to get the learner's permit. And that class can be finished online or at one of our training offices. And we have offices throughout Central Florida. So you can just go on our website. It's www.floridasafety.org. And on there, you can find out all of our locations and even complete classes online. But the driver traffic behind the wheel classes, I would definitely recommend for anyone learning to drive.
Well, yeah, I
Yeah.
would think that that would be a help for parents.
AAA has just recently purchased a simulator, something to what you were mentioning for the teens, and we actually have programs from time to time that we will bring these simulators into our branch or to a location of your choice, and we put the teens in the driver's seat, and they can see how it feels to drive while you're driving while you're drunk. And it's a real rude awakening for them because, you know, kids don't think that, or humans don't think that they've had too much to drink when they get, oh yeah, I can drive, no big deal. But once you get into this simulator, it's like, it really opens their eyes to see, wow, this is how it feels. This is reality here. So it helps a lot. And we also have goggles that we use at our branches too when we have.
We have those too.
Yeah,
They're great.
And they're really awesome, yeah. Because when we have the teens come in, and with the parents also, because we want to make sure that it's a family involvement. It's just not for the teen exclusively, because you can't get the buy-in if the parents aren't supporting the efforts. So, and they really get a charge out of that, and they try so hard to stay on that straight line.
But it's difficult.
But it's very, very difficult.
Well, and I know we have kind of picked on our teens a little bit here, but on the other side of that, of course, is the more mature drivers that are on the road. I know you mentioned mature drivers classes. Tell us, Bob, tell me a little bit about AARP and about what you all are doing in that area.
Well, we are an organization, it's kind of a spin-off from AARP proper in that we have our own program, even though we're still part of them. And we've been doing this now for ever since the early 70s. Just for example, we put on classes throughout the Lake County, of course all over the state of Florida, but my area is Lake County. Just as an example, we will have put on about 70 classes this year by the end of the year. And we will have graduated probably over 1,200 to 1,300 people out of the class. It's a classroom setting, and no driving test involved, so they don't have to bring their keys with them or something. And we go over how things have changed since you first started driving. One of the big things we ask in our class is each individual participant is, how have the cars, the roads, this type of thing changed since you started driving? And you'd be surprised at the answers we get. And of course, we also in the program not just go over the driving and how they've changed, but also how our bodies have changed. Where we did things when we were much younger we can't do today. Our reaction time. We have a couple little quizzes that we give them on reaction time. We go over the Florida laws. One thing we do here in the state of Florida, along with our national book that we teach, the state of Florida has given us a book to teach along with the program. So we're constantly going between the two books. One, the national book, which kind of is good anywhere in the 50 United States. And then in Florida, we have a unique thing that we go over the laws, such as one of the things that Jeff would probably be appreciative is the move over law, which a lot of people don't know what that is.
Yeah.
And of course the following distance. People don't know that the Florida law is that you must have 2 seconds of space between you and the car in front of you, not 2 car lengths like they were taught earlier. And we go over those. And of course, as we get older, a couple of things that we go over, which is probably the most touching part of the whole program for me, is when it's time to give up the keys. And that is probably one of the most emotional parts of the entire program.
And you're talking to adults,
Yes.
helping them to identify when they need to give up the keys, is that right?
Yes.
And tell us a little bit about that, because I think that to me is, like, you know, I have parents that are getting up there, and that's a scary thing, because you don't want to take away their independence. You don't want to, you know that they rely on that, but that's hard.
Well, I think one thing we go on, and of course we have, there's a brochure out that we have which is called We Need to Talk. And this was actually put out by a major insurance company in conjunction with AARP, and it's a lot of good information in there. And it tells how to start the conversation. It's not something where you go in and just say, give me the keys, you're done driving. It's a process to get to that point, and we talk about that. And of course, one of the things that we do that is one of their assignments we give them, because it is a 2-day class, and we have a little homework assignments in between. And one of them is that, what are you going to do when you can't drive anymore? How are you going to get around? Well, they all say, well, I'm not worried about that. So then you look at them and say, okay, what if you had a medical problem for the next 4 months and you can't drive? And you give them a personal example. If they had a heart bypass, for example, they can't be in the front seat for 2 months. How are you going to get around? If you're on your own, you don't have a spouse, how are you going to make it? Go home and figure this out. Well, that makes them think, and then they come back with a list of things. Some communities, like the one I live in, we have a Neighbors Helping Neighbor program where you just make a phone call. There's 45 people in the community that will take you to the doctor, take you to the grocery store, free of charge. Other communities have the same thing. But it don't have to be permanent. It can be temporary.
What are some of the things, and you might be able to answer this, actually, any of you, what would be some of the warning signs that you think that it's maybe time to start having that conversation?
Fender benders, scrapes on the car. We actually had a lady in the classroom who had a fender bender on the way to the class. And when we got through the first day of the class and we started asking certain questions, because our book does have some ideas and questions to ask, believe it or not, at the end of the class, she came up and she says, I won't be at the next class. I'm giving up my driver's license tonight. And she did.
I think another thing that would probably trigger that too, on a personal basis, I experienced that with my grandfather's getting lost.
Yes.
Living in the community forever and then going somewhere and not remembering how to get home.
Or go to the mall and not remember where the car was.
Yeah, well, that happens
I do that.
me
But
a lot.
this says,
I'm in trouble.
Time to have a talk.
Yes, we need to have a talk.
we actually had a couple in the classroom, and on the second day of the class, the husband came up to me and he says, my wife is done driving. He said she went to the mall, and she came home in a taxi.
Aww.
Couldn't even remember his phone number to call him to come get her. And so he had to then go back and actually get the car and bring it home. But we run into these things. I've actually had several people give up their driver's license after the class because they found that wasn't safe for them.
So would you encourage people that if they feel like if they have a loved one who maybe they think might be close to that, to maybe encourage them to go to the class?
I would think go to the class. The other thing they do is you can go to their doctor and have them evaluated, and a lot of times medications will make this happen. And this is a big thing, especially with us senior drivers. I know I'm on medications that I wouldn't have been on 10 years ago, and they do affect you. And this is one thing. And of course, if someone really has a problem, there is a way you can notify the state of Florida anonymously. And and then they can take it from there. But a lot of times, especially if it's your spouse, you can talk to the doctor, and the doctor can either change medications or give further testing to see what really is the problem, and advise you accordingly.
Jeff, I just wanted to ask you a question because wondering about the more mature drivers. And I understood that as long as you passed a test at the driver's license, that it was not a problem to get your driver's license renewed. And, I just wonder, isn't there anything else better than just because you passed a test, because they don't know the rest of the story about the fender benders that you mentioned and getting lost on the road.
Right. There's that. Well, my one story blends all these together. As was an elderly lady, southbound on 27 at 33, lived in Lady Lake. Thought she was going home, got into a fender bender, ran the red light because she was just driving, didn't even see the light, crashed. And we have an option as law enforcement officers when we arrive on scene as a crash, like he said, you can do it, anybody can do it anonymously, have the state send them a letter if their address is right and say, hey, we need to see you about your license. Well, we have a box that we can check on a long form crash, or we can just go to a David program that we have and check a box that says reevaluate for their license. And then, like she said, if we start to see them in fender benders and they don't know where they're at and all this comes together, and that's the first thing I do. And even though I think she hit a guy's hitch and poked a hole in her bumper, I still did a long form report because then it's the option I can pick on her to have them reevaluate her
Right.
and make sure their address is good. And if you, as a family member, start getting calls from law enforcement asking you to come and get your family, then it's time to get
So
his
being
book.
aware as a family member.
Correct.
We're running low on time, but before we do that, I want to kind of hit on this. If they're not quite there yet, I know you mentioned maybe some classes that they could take though, because thinking about and just being aware that as you're getting a little bit older, there are some things that have changed, and what can you do on the road to make yourself safer with your changing everything? You said there's some classes, or are there classes? Tell us just real quick about those. I know.
Well,
we're
what we,
running
what
out
we
of
do
time.
in our program, of course, we go over these changes as you go through and things you can do. We don't do actual road tests like they do in road instruction, but it's classroom type instruction. And we have a lot of ideas, hints in there, or things you can do to help make you safer. What's the worst time of day to be traveling? And when you're a retired person, you don't need to be out there in rush hour. What's your hurry?
Right.
Just because you want to be the
And
first.
those
in
might
line.
not be things that you really are thinking about.
Exactly. Right.
So those are good things to bring up and make a point of.
And the course he's speaking of, we offer the same course. And the great thing about it is, if you are 50, 55 or older, motivation to take it is you do get a mandatory discount on your insurance.
Correct.
In the state of Florida at 55. You only have to renew the course and take the course again every 3 years. And the discount varies depending on your provider, but it's definitely a motivator to get out there and see what it's about and then keep it going. And so we hope that through those courses, and they can take it online, or a lot of them like to take it live.
Right.
They're not into computers and they like the interaction. So, but that way we keep them coming in every 3
Right.
years and getting that education. So.
I wanted to mention very quickly, not that we do not promote drinking and driving, of course, but during the holidays, we get a little carried away at parties and that type of thing. So I wanted to let you all know that AAA, in conjunction with Anheuser-Busch, for the last few years, we have a program that's called Tow to Go, and you can actually, as a host or hostess at your own home, if you feel like you want somebody taken care of, you can call this toll-free number, whether they are a AAA member or not. They will actually take you home, and the road service people will tow your car home. So at no cost whatsoever. We just want to make sure that everybody is safe on the road, and it makes Jeff's life a little easier on that road too.
And I want to make sure we're really out of time, but Bob, I don't remember if you gave your website address. Did you give it?
Well, it's
information?
aarp.org.
There we go.
Yeah, and you can get all this information, including the car fit information, which is in conjunction
Great.
with other programs.
Well, thank you all for being here and sharing
Thank
with
you
us,
for
and
having us
hopefully
here.
we'll keep our roads safer.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.